evening. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your Spider ETF stock market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is for the evening of Monday, and we're at the 22nd of July, 2024. Well, you know, we're not that far away now from the convention for the Democrats. I was reading how many votes that Kamala Harris has gotten commitments for, and she's about halfway there on the delegate count that she needs. We haven't heard anybody yet that wants to run against her. That can happen. We haven't heard who she's going to pick as her VP. That will happen. We did hear that she's raised $81 million since Biden endorsed her. That's just a matter of, if you think about it, hours. And he is turning over his $96 million that he has raised. So she has a war chest now that's pretty good. And obviously there's a sign that the donors have opened up their pockets again. The question facing all of us will be, what does she stand for? What did she do? What was her track record as she was the vice president? Just because the President Biden nominated her, is she capable? Those are many things that are going to come to light. And you can imagine lurking in the back is that gentleman with the taped ear, and he's going to be coming at her. So now the question is, will there be debates? The time frame is getting short, and we will see just how this all looks. We are seeing already the polls. She got an immediate bump. You would expect that. The question is lasting power. The question is, when she gets pressed on events, is that going to be there? The good news is she is a woman of color. That brings something different to the table. The second thing is she is a woman. That brings another thing to the table. And the third thing is she's not Joe Biden, which brings for the Democrats another thing to the table. So there's a lot here that is riding on her shoulders. And can she run with it and do something? At the end of the day, nothing changes. So if you get all caught up in this for the markets, I think you've made a mistake. Whether it is Trump or Harris, the spending is going to continue. Whether it is Trump or Harris, the programs on energy probably don't change that much. There could be a change on AI and tech, and I think you have to appreciate that because her family works for Uber and I think it was PepsiCo. So she certainly is going to have to know a thing or two about tech. I guarantee that that's going to happen. And I don't know her mindset on it. There's just a lot of unknowns. And we're going to find that out about her. But we now have at least one person in. Joe Manchin said he was not going to run as an independent or a Democrat either. So he's out. And it's a good thing he didn't, because he's been talking about these younger people taking over. He's 77. So I don't think that that would have been the best of moves. So we will see what she does. But she's got to pick a VP right away. So we will see what that does. In terms of market, tomorrow you're going to get the Red Book Group. They're going to update their weekly U.S. retail sales. Existing home sales data for June comes out at 9 o'clock. The Richmond Fed will update their monthly manufacturing sector index. Those have been improving around the country, and that's at 9. And the API numbers will come out at 3:30. But what the market will focus on, let's forget politics for the minute, is going to be the jobless numbers that come out on Thursday, and then the all-important PCE index, which is expected in the core number to be down a tenth at 2.5%. So let's go to the charts and see what happened. As you would have expected today, the market got the Harris boost. So you saw a rally in the stock markets. The question is, can it hold on to it? The bond market, BND, down a little, 3 ticks, really didn't do very much. Amazon sank back a little bit. Netflix up $14. We did see that Tesla made a move back up another 12. That stock's been on a charge. And we saw that NVIDIA is back into the 123 mark. Again, I don't know what that all means. AMC is up 27 cents because they did another restructuring of their debt. They're going to sell more debt. I've looked at this company, and I can't figure out when you buy it, if you buy the stock, what are you buying? They're now splitting some licensing into other held companies. I don't know what it is anymore. That's just reality. It's very confusing. URA, uranium. been down hard. Is uranium going to get a bid now off of AI? I mean, that's one of the areas that so many traders are looking at and saying it's a natural resource. It can power these AI facilities. You don't need super large reactors to do that. Something interesting there. Most of the car companies up a little bit, as you can see today as well. Copper still down, even though China made a surprise move and went into their 7-day repo rates and cut them by 10 basis points, which lowered rates on a lot of other things. They came out, and I'm saying they being China, with their third plenum comments, their statement, and I read it, and it's just a replay of everything. They haven't addressed so many of the problems. They're still looking at manufacturing as their way to resolve their economy. Okay, but you realize the more the government throws at that, the more tariffs will go on from the West. That's just going to be the way that it works. One of the stocks that has fallen out of bed, it's fallen a third in value, has been CrowdStrike. Now, we heard over the weekend how many of the different companies that have used and do use CrowdStrike, what they're doing. Here's what will happen with CrowdStrike. It will find the bottom, wherever that's at. The problem is, let's assume I'm a CrowdStrike user and I have a contract coming up with CrowdStrike to renew. You don't think I'm going to say, do you know what you cost me? I want credit for that. Those are the things that are going to happen. This has a long way to come back. This is not a flash in the pan. This hit is going to last quarters, in my opinion, not a short period of time. Quarters. Could be longer than that, but not much longer than that. It's not quite a Nike story, but it's certainly been a big hit. You can see how the market has just fallen out of bed with lower highs, lower lows, a bearish scenario there. It sliced through the 100-day average and the 200 like they didn't even exist. But now the question is, what next? And I don't think anybody knows. You broke out of this sideways channel, how narrow it was, and you've just gone down. Now you are 1, 2, 3, 4 days under the lower Bollinger Band. You rarely go more than that before you try to bounce a bit, and you're not embedded. When I look at RSP, and I really think you have to look at this market very hard, this to me tells me a market story. It's the broadening out of purchasing. Not everybody's going to own the Mag 7. Other people want to buy companies that are outside of that. And you're starting to see on this equal weight index that the market's looking for its footing. I don't know where it's quite at. I can make an argument down here, but it could be a higher just for the sake of being higher. I think we'll get an idea if the market takes out today's high and closes up on the day. You're going to take one of these arrows and move them there, and that'll be the near-term low. If that were violated, then I'd look for this area. But if not, are we back up to the 172 area? That's going to be a big question. I've moved over to URA. I've been wanting to cover different things in uranium very slowly because I believe that it's going to work. But I don't think it's something you just jump into. I've got clients that, that's all they want to do is own uranium. Well, buy it and forget you own it. But this chart is not saying to buy it. This chart right now has got a higher high and a lower low. I don't see a setup from there. As we look at Rivian, Rivian has lower highs, lower lows, falling back. I'm looking for the support in the 1593 to the 1460 level. Market could bottom out here. It's hard to tell, but that's what I'm looking for in the chart. As I look at FCX, we have a higher high, lower low, into the lower Bollinger Band. And be careful with this right here. Freeport has still got some problems right through that. I was looking at Grupo Mexico. I don't know if you're aware of the company, but they're major copper producers, freight, and so on. Monster earnings, and they're opening another copper plant now in Peru. It's taken them, I think, 10 years to finally get permission to do all this, and it will contribute over, I don't know, 5-10 year period once it gets running, billions of dollars. So good for everybody. Copper's needed. It's in short supply. No, they are not ready to produce more copper right now. That mine's got to be fully developed. Interesting that I woke up this morning and I'm hearing downgrades in Linn, and yet the stock up today 1.56%. So interesting move. Are we embedding? Yes. So both numbers were over 80 today. Let's see if I can get this to step back. It doesn't want to. I don't know why, but not going to be able to get it to do it. But you need 3 days of these numbers over there. It looks to me like it's trying to accomplish that right now. In XHB, you are just overbought. So the market saw a bit of a correction. We have a funny chart action with this big spike up, and then you took out the low of an outside day. So unless you go right up through that high that you made, you still say that the market might be returning here. I think you have to be careful tomorrow, Tuesday, of some reversals of what you saw today, because today was the Harris rally. I want to make that clear. That's what I think was going on, that the market had ideas where we're at, but a little reality is going to come back into the moves tomorrow, I think. You lost the bullish embedded reading in the services, the financial services. So in my opinion, before you go up to 44.11, I'd like to see prices make a further run at the 18-day average of closes. In the industrial sector, well, the market is correcting. Present tense, being overbought. It's not out of it yet. You still have a 71 reading, and you had a bullish crossover today. The 18-day average got over the 100. That's still friendly in this market. So tomorrow, when we see some of these more Fed districts come up for manufacturing, we'll have an idea what's going on. In XLE, the energy sector, you get gotten overbought, you're pulling back. Are you noticing that crude oil's just not holding up really well? Now, what we haven't heard from the energy secretary is, did anyone reach out and were they able to buy any of those barrels that they put out tenders for I think it was near 6 million barrels of oil? I don't know. I don't know if they bought any. They don't tell you. But prices certainly